Welcome to Crossover Commander, where we show you how to cross over your favorite pop culture characters through the blind eternities so they can command your deck with style. If you really enjoy what you see here today and would like to see this channel grow, check us out on TikTok and Patreon. The links will be in the description section down below. It looks like this portal is stabilizing, so let's get on with this show. Hey everybody, I'm gonna level with you. This was a super hard video to make. Betty White kind of holds a special place in my heart due to the fact that when I was younger and I'd come home from school, I'd watch Golden Girls with my mom every day, and she passed not too long ago as well. So it just brought up a bunch of memories from that time, and it was a rough video to make, but it's in honor of both of them, so I did it anyway. Now, we all know Betty White. She was a wonderful lady. She loved animals. She loved people. She was all about friendship and love and just living life and being a great person. So that's what this deck is kind of all about, is just cute animals, loving life, and being nice. I'd like to present Betty White as the commander of this deck. She's Avacyn, the Angel of Hope, for 5, white, has flying, vigilance, and indestructible, and other permanents you control have indestructible. This lady was indestructible when she was alive, and it just fit perfectly. So the rule 0 and power level for this deck, Betty White with a Dream Hand can win by turn 6, but regularly by turn 12. The strategy with Betty White is to play cute animals, gain life, and protect what's yours. And to be fair, we all know that Betty White just wins at life, so that's how she wins in this deck too. This is the perfect time to remind you that this is a crossover themed build. With that being said, crucial cards for the theme will be added regardless of price. Cards that are not essential to fit the theme will be made as budget friendly as possible. Betty White was a very upfront person, so let's just start off with the lands. We got 29 plains, an Ictian store, a Kabira Crossroads, a Karoo, a Mikoro Center of the Sea, an Emergent Zone, and a Guildless Commons. And the ramp for the deck is Soul Talisman, Soul Ring, Helm of Awakening, and Gift of Estates, along with Oath of Lieges, Oreskos Explorer, Monologue Tax, Burnished Heart, and Starnheim Courser, Oketra's Monument, Endless Horizons, and Gear for Ori. The Starnheim is specifically useful because there's lots of enchantments in the deck. Our goal is to kind of play the long game with this deck, so we want to have ways of keeping ourselves protected and getting to what we need. So we have Howling Mine for 2 generic mana at the beginning of each player's draw step. If Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. Then we have Generous Gift for 2 and a white, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. And then we have Oblation for 2 and a white. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into their library, then draws 2 cards. And then we have Secret Rendezvous for 1 and 2 white. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. And then we have Court of Grace for 2 and 2 white. When Court of Grace enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. If you're the monarch, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Then we have Felidar Retreat for 3 and a white. As landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. We're always going to be choosing to create 2/2 white cat beasts. And then we have Return to Dust for 2 and 2 white. Exile a target artifact or enchantment. If it's cast on your turn, you get to do 2 of those targets. Then we have Light Minefield for 2 and 2 white. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack, Light Minefield deals damage to each of those creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures. And we utilize Sphere of Safety for 4 and white. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X. For each creature, X is the number of enchantments you have. And then we have Sigil of the Empty Thrones for 3 and 2 white. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token. Then we have Skybind for 3 and 2 white. It has Constellation. Whenever Skybind or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, exile target non-enchantment permanent and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And then we have Mystic Barrier for 4 and a white. When Mystic Barrier enters the battlefield or at the beginning of your upkeep, choose left or right. Each player may attack only the opponent seated nearest to him or her in the last chosen direction, and planeswalkers controlled by that player. It's kind of a interesting card, but all of these cards are meant to protect you, kind of gum up your board, give you a presence so that people can't hurt your life total. It just felt right to put Betty White with the rest of the Golden Girls, so they're all angels in this deck. We have Avacyn, Angel of Hope for 5 and 3 white is Betty White. Has Flying, Vigilance, Indestructible, and gives other permanents you control indestructible. Then we have Restoration Angel for 3 and a white. It's Blanche. Then she has Flash and Flying, and when she enters the battlefield, she can flicker a creature. We do have the Felidar Guardian in here to bounce infinitely to gain extra life, that type of stuff, because we have cards that gain life when creatures enter. Then we have Angel of Destiny for Dorothy for 3 and 2 white. She has Flying and Double Strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. At the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attacked this turn loses the game. Then we have Valkyrie Harbinger for 4 and 2 white. It's Sophia. I just figured that was kind of fitting. She has Flying and Lifelink at the beginning of each end step. If you gain 4 more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with Flying and Vigilance. It is almost like it was meant to be that these cards actually ended up working together. But we have Selfless Savior for 1 white. He's a cute dog. He sacrifices himself to give another target creature indestructible until end of turn. Then we have Resolute Watchdog, also for 1 white, can sacrifice himself to give a creature indestructible. Then we have Loyal Warhound for 1 and a white, has Vigilance. When Loyal Warhound enters the battlefield and if opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then we got Trusty Retriever for 3 and a white. You can either put a 1/1 counter on Trusty Retriever or get a enchantment card or an enchantment or artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Then we've got Rambunctious Mutt for 3 and 2 white. When Rambunctious Mutt enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. And for our kitty cats, we've got Enlightened Aesthetic. For 1 and a white, when Enlightened Aesthetic enters the battlefield, you may destroy target enchantment. Then we have Alms Collector for 3 and a white. It has Flash. If an opponent will draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that opponent draw a card. Then we have Felidar Guardian for 3 and a white. When Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, you may exile another target permanent and flicker it, just like the Restoration Angel. Then we have Leonin Abunus for 3 and a white. Artifacts you control have hexproof. Then we have Spirit of the Hearth for 4 and 2 white. It has Flying and you have hexproof. I stated at the onset of this deck tech that it was about loving life and living it. So we've got life gain galore. We start with a Johnny's Welcome for 1 white. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain a life. Then we have Leonin Elder for 1 white. Whenever an artifact comes into play, you may gain 1 life. Authority of the Consuls. For 1 white, creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain a life. Soul Warden. For 1 white, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Then we have Soul's Attendant. For 1 white, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. Then we have Angel's Feather for 2, generic. It's an artifact. Whenever a player casts a white spell, you may gain a life. Then we have Daxos Blessed by the Sun for 2 white. Daxos toughness is equal to your devotion to white, so make sure you don't play him to an empty board. And then whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. Then we have Ashes of the Abhorrent for 1 and a white. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. That's fine, because we really don't use that much. And it also has whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. Then we have the cute little Sheep Nyx Fleece Ram for 1 and a white. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life. Then we have Staff of the Sun Magus for 3, generic mana. It's an artifact. Whenever you cast a white spell or a plane enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Then we have Cosmos Elixir for 4 generic mana. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, you gain 2 life. Then we have Healer of the Pride for 3 and a white. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Then to top off the life-gaining curve, we've got Rock's Faithmender for 3 and a white. He's a Rhino Buddy. He has lifelink, and if you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. We have Sigarda's Splendor for 2 and 2 white. As Sigarda's Splendor enters the battlefield, you note your life total, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card if your life total is greater than or equal to the last noted life total for Sigarda's Splendor. Then note your life total. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain a life. It's kind of weird, worded weird, but basically what happens is if you've gained life since the last time it was your upkeep, you get to draw a card, and then you just gain life every time you play a white spell. Then we have Righteous Cause for 3 and 2 white. Whenever a creature attacks, you gain 1 life. Then we have Boon Reflection for 4 and a white. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. And then we have Alhamart's Archive, which actually doubles up as a card draw in this deck. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. And if you would draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. That's for 5 generic mana. These cards are going to help us take advantage of our life gain to win the game. We've got Dawn of Hope for 1 and a white. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Then you can pay some mana into it, create a soldier if you need it. Then we've got a Griffinary for 1 and a white at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. Then we've got the Book of Exalted Deeds for 3 white. It's a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. And then you can pay some mana into it to exile it and put an enlightened counter on a target angel, and it gains You Can't Lose the Game and your opponents can't win the game. Betty White is a great target for this because she's indestructible. And then we have Angelic Accord for 3 and a white. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. And then we've got Crested Sunmare for 3 and a white, and another white. It's a horse, a cute little horsey for, like I said, 5 mana. It says other horses you control have indestructible, and at the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. These cards will straight up win you the game on their own with our life totals. We have Aetherflux Reservoir for 4 generic. It's an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain a life for each spell you've cast this turn, and you pay 50 life. Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player, so that quite literally weaponizes life gain. Then we have Test of Endurance for 2 and 2 white at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 50 or more life, you win the game. Then we have Celestial Convergence for 2 and 2 white. Celestial Convergence comes into play with 7 Omen counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an Omen counter from Celestial Convergence. If there are no Omen counters on Celestial Convergence, the player with the highest life total wins the game. If 2 or more players are tied for highest life total, the game ends in a draw. Then we have Felidar Sovereign for 4 and 2 white. It has Vigilance and Lifelink, and it's a cat beast. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. And then our life gain allows us to outlast opponents, as well as our indestructible board state with Betty. And we can utilize Approach of the Second Sun for 6 and a white. It says if Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun in this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. Now that we've gotten through the entire deck, we can look at the average price at time of release. It's between $207 and $245, depending on where you purchase it from. As always, if you're willing to play with heavily played or damaged cards, it can be a lot less. And as far as the stats go for the deck, we've got 14 ramp, we've got 0 tutors, we've got 11 forms of card draw, 5 forms of interaction, 0 board wipes, and 35 lands. Honestly, Betty White wouldn't be worried about stopping everybody from having fun or playing cards that were mean. So she just ramps and draws cards and tries to win at life. I wanted to thank y'all for sticking around for this video and for getting through the whole thing. Like I said at the beginning, it was a pretty hard video to make. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys can remember the people in your life in the best ways for you. Remember, this is a crossover theme to build. With that being said, crucial cards for the theme were added regardless of price. Cards that were not essential to fit the theme were made as budget-friendly as possible. If you want to optimize this list, feel free to leave your upgrades in the comments section below. Most importantly, this deck is meant to be a new and engaging way to spice up your Commander games, so fun is the top priority. Thank you for watching this crossover deck tech. If you liked this video, check out our other content on YouTube or TikTok. Your viewership means the multiverse to the crossover commander, and if you would like to become a part of this growing Terran reality, you can like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to vote on the next pop culture character crossover, check out our Patreon where we have some awesome perks. If you have any ideas or complaints, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Now that this portal's closing, see you next time. Remember, this is a crossover theme to build. With that being said, crucial cards for the theme were added regardless of price. Cards that were not essential to fit the theme were made as budget-friendly as possible. If you want to optimize this list, feel free to leave your upgrades in the comments section below. Most importantly, this deck is meant to be a new and engaging way to spice up your Commander games, so fun is the top priority. Thank you for watching this crossover deck tech. If you liked this video, check out our other content on YouTube or TikTok. Your viewership means the multiverse to the crossover commander, and if you would like to become a part of this growing Terran reality, you can like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to vote on the next pop culture character to crossover, check out our Patreon where we have some awesome perks. If you have any ideas or complaints, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Now that this portal's closing, see you next time.